Insightful.
Hood from Crow Rosh and Diamond.
Let me see.
Yeah, that's for like PvE. It's got like.
Well, that wasn't out then. Yeah, I don't know about that. Like, yeah, that wasn't even out in the game. So like we didn't think that was gonna come out for months. I wouldn't really count that personally. Let me see. Oh yeah, that's really good. That is really good. But
I mean, yeah, PvP also wasn't out yet, so like that. I don't know. The whole thing was
PvP.
just
What? The honor system wasn't out. PvP is always in the game.
yeah, I mean, I think PvP was in the game, and also like, if it's an upgrade for both of them, I don't see the problem with making people roll. Like I don't see anything wrong with that.
I mean, I think this is just like a. I'm just like so confused that this is like a discussion. Like it's like it's good for everybody, right? But it's like it's good in a situational case for everybody.
Yeah.
Insightful Hood is better in PvE, right? It's like the same plus healing, and it's got like 1% crit. But it wasn't even in the game yet.
I'll see what Punkrat says about it. Okay, just give me a second. I'll add him in.
Okay.
How the fuck do I do this? What the fuck? Am I not friends with Punkrat on here? Let me see. What the fuck? Okay, add me on friends, Punkrat. I think that's what I have to do. You have to add me on friends. It'll be good. Yeah, I'll get him in there. It doesn't matter who's right. Apologize, move on. Well, I don't think that I was wrong. Like, it does matter who's right or who's wrong. It does to me. It absolutely does to me. Let's see. McConnell agreed to roll a bitch. Yeah, I mean, I feel like if you roll off an item, frustrated about is people that conflated that with me being like bored of the content or something like that, or not saying there was a lot of content and saying, oh, well, that's because
content drought.
Yeah, that's because you geared up your character through like all these streamer benefits things, which is not true. Because the existence of that warlock and the existence of the rogue is entirely based off of the fact that I ran out of content on my warrior. Like I ran out of things to farm and get.
Let's say we look at Stay Safe, for example.
Mm-hmm.
His entire stream, he does everything by himself. You know what I mean? Like, he works for everything that he has.
Mm-hmm.
He's made thousands and thousands of gold from Maradon farming. He's been farming mats for PvP, setting up all his banks. His guild. He's a great guild leader. He micromanages everything. He we have a ton of structure in the guild. He's created a pretty strong stream around actually playing the game, and he's got content because it's like playing Classic. Every day you log in, you have something new to do. There's like, what's the goal today? I have to work towards this.
Well, is it really something new to do? I mean, like,
you have to admit that you've worked towards pretty much nothing. Like, you want to mount.
Well, to be fair, I did farm out.
Like, you don't work for anything. You have no goals.
I farmed out the chest piece
there's
that
no
I had.
content.
Yeah, I farmed out the chest piece that I had. I farmed out all the raid stuff, etc.
Semi-AFK doing arenas just over and over again. Like,
yeah. I mean, like, is that really that much more difficult or challenging than farming Maradon all day?
Maradon farming is actually like micro intensive. You have to know exactly what you're doing. You're trying to pump out as many per hour. Like, the people who are efficiently doing 12-minute runs.
Oh yeah.
Are actually like doing almost like speed runs. They know exactly what they're doing.
I'm sure
every step that they take.
I'm sure they're very good at doing the runs. You're right about that. But I think that, like, really the way that I approach Classic and everything is basically is I wanted to be able to provide like the best content possible for the stream, and I think that everybody could pretty much agree like farming Maradon all day isn't really very good content, and that's why I chose not to do it. And,
well, it's just everybody plays the game differently.
Well, it's not really about that. I mean, it's just simply that it's not good content for the viewers. And
I think the best content that you have is the social dynamic in your guild, and honestly, when I've tuned in the most has been when you're doing like the judge jury, type thing where people are sending you mail and you're talking with people. Like, that's, in my opinion, the best content that you've put out.
I agree. I think
Classic.
it's really funny too.
and you know, like that's kind of what I feel. I feel like you've taken a bit of a backseat in leading your own guild. You know, I think there's a lot of people, and there's people who have joined our guild from Olympus that have complained about it.
I really struggle with being able to do that, like, and then also stream. That's true.
A big part of the video that I made yesterday was to get you motivated to do that, because I felt as though you have the potential to do a lot more than you're doing. You have the potential to really organize your guild, create a structured
spoilers!
unit.
He hasn't seen it. I haven't seen it either, but he hasn't seen it.
Right. Well, I'm not really saying too much. But the point is like you can be doing a lot more. You can be super productive. Like there's a lot that you can do as a guild leader. That's great content. That's not just farming Marathon. Like you could have bank alts, and, you know, investing in shit, and like, you know, setting up groups wherever. Like you could do so much to actually affect the server, which would impact all of us as Alliance. And I feel like you don't do that.
Well,
as a viewer,
go ahead.
I mean, I think we all know that that's not who Asmon is. Like, let's be real here. Like, that's not what we, you know, like, that's not his content.
Well, he defines that. I don't know, maybe, what do you think about that, Asmon? Is that not who you are?
I mean, it depends, right? I mean, I think that really what I've always prioritized more than anything is the enjoyment of the viewers, right? Are the viewers enjoying the content? Are they liking the content? Is it fun for them, etc.? And if that's the case, then I'd consider it a success. And whenever I focus on that, that's really what matters the most. More than anything, more than, you know, any sort of other, like, you know, making people happy or anything like that.
That wasn't supposed to be a roast, man. I was just saying, like, you know, we don't watch you for, you know, gold farm and you're micromanaging the guild and shit.
Well, I'm telling you, that's what I watch him. I only find it interesting when there's drama, when there's, honestly, McConnell not being part of the stream. It sucks for me. He's by far my favorite part of the stream. I like you a lot, Asmongold. Obviously, I'm not saying I don't like you, but McConnell is my favorite part of the stream. He adds so much character, so much flavor to the stream.
I agree. I'd love to have McConnell come back. Like,
when you guys bring people in Discord and you're like hashing things out and figuring out what to do, and like all of that is, from my perspective, the best part of the stream. And I don't know how your chat thinks about it, but that's my perspective.
Well, I agree. I wish that McConnell would come back. That's why I've apologized to him. I've talked to him. Right? It's up to him. I think that he might just be burned out on the drama more than anything. I mean, I think that he's done that before. He's just taken a break, and that's, you know, it's up to him. But the
drama's become a bit toxic.
Well, it is, right?
Yeah.
I think whenever
because
drama
it's gone this whole thing with advertise, and I think you've taken a bit of a defensive position where, you know, I think rather than, you know, I think you've felt sorry for yourself a little bit. Like, I don't want to be too antagonistic here or anything, but like,
probably
I feel like you probably have a bit of a role in that as well.
I mean, you're probably right, man. Like, I do to an extent. Like, it's just, to me, right, it's like if I'm like constantly like reading stuff like that all the time, it just gets to me. I think it'd get to anybody, and I want to get people to like see my perspective, and that's really the only thing that I care about, is like just getting people to like see where I'm coming from and just like listen to what I'm saying, and like that's all there is to it.
Do you see any fault in how you acted with the whole advertise situation?
No, not really. No? I don't think so at all. I think if there was fault in how I acted, then Twitch wouldn't have done anything.
Well, I don't know.
I mean,
I think they definitely favor you a little bit. No,
not really. I don't think so at all. I think imagine if somebody had made a stream like that to Pokemon, do you think that they would be even slightly? Do you think they'd be permabanned?
You're kind of proving my point, though. They have a bias towards creators, especially.
Well, I'm saying it's not
creators.
Towards me. I don't think they really have a bias towards women creators, but you know, maybe. It's hard to say.
They definitely do.
You think so?
I know so.
Well, the expert.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not really on Twitch, so I can actually say this stuff. I'm not really scared about them bringing the hammer down on me.
Yeah.
But I definitely think so. And I feel as though maybe you were a bit too loose in attacking his ability to pay his own bills because you weren't happy with the way that he was playing the game.
Well, I don't think that's really attacking the way they pay his bills. Like, I mean, if somebody made an entire community and, you know, brought a bunch of stuff and, like, talked about a bunch of stuff that's exclusively basically at the expense of another person, right? I looked at a lot of his content and a lot of things he was doing. Like, almost everything that he was doing and like his content was all at the expense of someone else. And
is that not freedom of speech?
I think that there is an element of freedom of speech, but like this isn't also it's not a public platform, right? I mean, this is a private platform, and I looked at that and I said, is this healthy for the platform? And I don't think that it is. Anything you can say is freedom of speech.
Is Twitch a publisher or a platform?
You have
are
to
they
ask
an open
them
forum?
I
or
don't
are they
know.
a publisher? Because if they're a publisher, then that means, you know, and if they have full reign, like I know all these companies are operating in a legal gray zone and they're pretending to be both. They're benefiting from both. But if they're a publisher and they have the ability to just nuke anyone that they want, then technically they would be responsible for everything said on their platform. And if one person says the N-word or if somebody issues a death threat, then technically they would be responsible, right?
I don't know. What I do know is they do have they have a TOS. And
what rule did he break specifically?
What rule I thought he broke specifically is that basically he cultivated an entire community that was centered around hating somebody. And that's pretty much the entire thing. And
can you objectively prove that? I don't even think he hates you. I think he likes you.
Well, if he liked me, why would he make a bunch of videos about me trying to paint me in a bad light?
I think, you know, when Taliesin made that video, and you said, you know, people aren't necessarily protected, or it's not harassment to call somebody out on something. Don't you think maybe he was just voicing his opinion, and you didn't like his opinion, so...
Did I make a Discord
you
to
felt
gang
harassed?
Taliesin in game?
Well, why is that not allowed? Like, why is that not a viable avenue of gameplay?
Well, because it's basically all leading into... It's leading into a clear bias and a clear goal in mind, right? All of his content was made at my expense. Like, I mean,
So
can you agree with that?
Can I take Esmon's approach on this one?
Go
I
ahead.
can't believe this is a fucking conversation we're having.
Yeah.
Like, advertisers are like just leeching off of hate content. Period. That's all
Yeah.
he was. And I'm just a random viewer.
I mean,
Like,
I
that's
would
all-
I would agree with you to an extent, right? Except for the fact that if I was just talking, if he was just making the videos, that would be one thing, right? He was doing the videos, doing the streams, making the Discord, having like the whole memes in his guild, etc. It was not just one thing. It was a collection of things. Like any of the one things would be okay, but it's all of them together. Where I think a reasonable person would clearly say this is content made at the expense of another person, and that's
Yeah, just don't get where that's illegal. That's kind of where I'm getting at. Is I understand it sucks for you. I understand it may have been verging on the edge of slightly toxic.
Yeah.
I just don't necessarily agree, like, fundamentally when it comes to deplatforming people. Like, you could have reached out to him. You could have, you know, bargained. You could have, you know, I think he said a bunch of times they could have reached out to him. I think rather than, you know, fighting to get him deplatformed just seems a little bit, you know, kind of counterintuitive to a lot of, I'd say, some of probably your perspectives outside of Twitch, right?
I mean, to an extent, but I've never been I've never been somebody who's promoted any sort of like harassment or anything like that. Like, I'm completely okay, and I completely believe in free speech, 100%, right? But I think that whenever free speech goes into and it infringes on somebody else's ability to do something. Bolt, I see you. You can just come out, wait your turn, okay? Okay, anyway, so, like, listen, I agree. But whenever the speech and whatever you're saying is at the expense of another person, I think that it's beyond that. It's not a discussion purely of just free speech. It's what's allowed, what's right, what's the good thing to do. And I think that if you're creating content that's based pretty much solely at the expense of other people, and not necessarily... it doesn't really matter if it's good or bad, right? I mean, like, I think that criticism is okay, but there's a certain degree where criticism goes over the board, over the line.
So should CNN be deplatformed because their entire, you know, media, the entire media outlet is based around bashing Donald Trump? They've created their entire narrative is just impeach Trump. Should they be deplatformed?
apples and hand grenades.
I feel like those are two different things, you know?
Are they though?
Yeah.
CNN's the platform.
I would-
Twitch is a platform.
I
like
would say
you're-
so, yeah. I mean,
it's just different.
So the way that I would look at it, right, is if Twitch didn't have any rules, then I wouldn't have any complaints about what Advertise was doing, because he wasn't breaking the rules. Like, why would I be mad about something that's not against the rules? You know what I mean?
I don't know. I just feel like you made things worse for yourself in a certain way.
Well,
like,
don't you think that he made things worse for me?
I mean, maybe slight inconveniences. I don't know. I haven't been following it too closely. I don't know how bad it's actually been. I don't know if he's been camping you, a little bit or a lot, or if it's been like constant. He's everywhere you are. So I don't exactly know the situation. I didn't really follow it that well. All I know is I saw the aftermath, and I'm kind of just playing a little bit devil's advocate here. And I don't kind of pin you as a guy who would necessarily go that route of trying to push for somebody to get banned. So I don't know. I'm just questioning more than anything.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that, like, whenever I agree with you to an extent, right? Whenever you're talking about people who are able to, like, say things and criticize people, etc., I think that's completely okay. But I also think that there's a point where that criticism starts becoming, it starts becoming basically the entire content of somebody's stream, and at that point, I feel like that's whenever things really just go over the line. And I felt like basically the majority of the content of his stream was centered around me and basically what my guild was doing, interviewing people in my guild, and basically just making content at the expense of me. And then also he started talking about other people honor trading, etc. It just seemed like a person who, like, he pretty much had a chip on his shoulder against, like, streamers and other content creators, and wanted to do something to basically try to channel a lot of the resentment and dislike that those content creators receive onto a platform that he also profited off of. And I didn't really feel like that was fair at all, especially based off of the TOS of the website.
Maybe there's merit to that argument. I think there's a lot of assumptions that you made there. I think
what
at the end of the day,
assumption did I make?
Well, that he has like a harbored resentment towards streamers and stuff like that. I don't know. I'm not in his head, so I don't know where his actual perspective is from.
Do you think that he does? I mean, like,
I think he was just having fun, to be honest, making meme videos. And like, when you're that small, when you're a small fry like that, you're just trying to do anything to create, fun content and get some sort of traction. And I can't hate on somebody for that.
I can. It's traction. I absolutely can. Like, if you make content at the expense of another person, then I absolutely can fault somebody for that.
But is it right? Is it right to send the police state after him?
Well, there's not a police state.
Well, Twitch. It's a metaphor.
Well, okay. I think to an extent, yeah. I mean, like, if somebody is going and basing all of their platform and all of their content around basically harassing somebody or making somebody else look bad or whatever, I do think that's wrong. And I don't think that's ever something that Twitch promotes or anybody would want to promote on a platform at all. So,
well, what I'd say, honestly, just to wrap it up here, because honestly, I didn't even come in here to talk about this. I probably shouldn't have mentioned it, but yeah, maybe he's coming back to Twitch today, right?
I don't know.
Maybe extend a little bit, extend an arm, and maybe have a chat with him.
I